So today we're going to do a 12-inch wreath on a 12-inch ring, such as this. We're going to be using a selection of conifers, and the first thing what we have to do is introduce the roll of wire. The roll of wire looks like this, the binding wire, and I've got to emphasize that it's important that you don't cut the wire until you've completely covered your wreath. And I'm going to show you how to put these on without seeing wire as well. This is what I'm using today, is Leylandii. I cut it from the village Leylandii hedge. Basically once you start, you attach your wire. So I've already attached the wire and done this bit, you can see. And then basically I'm just wrapping the wire, the binding wire, around the two. So a lot of people don't be tempted to put the wire in between the two rings. You're going round the whole ring. And so basically we just keep wrapping round and round until it's fairly covered at the back. And remember, this is the back. And this is the only time you'll be working on the back. The rest of the time you'll be working on the front. I've got a little bit of a gap here, so I'll probably just get a little bit more here. So of course, you know, I'm putting it on this bit and my wire's over here. So I'm going to be very lavish and put more wire going all around here. But also, it doesn't matter with the wire, because you can, as you can see, when I get towards the end and I don't want to see wire, I've got enough wire on there already. So when you get to come to put your fancy bits of conifer in, you can just shove them in and wedge them in. And if you've got bits sticking out like this, it doesn't matter. By the time I get my other foliage on, you know, this 12-inch ring, your wreath's going to be about 16 inches by the time you get it on there. So that's the back done. So you can see it's just covered. I've still got my wire attached. And now I'm going to be working on the front. And the front, you can see there's some ring showing, but it doesn't matter because we're going to cover that with some more foliage. So the same thing applies as the back. You take your roll of wire and you're basically going around and putting this on so you can't see the gold ring. So you can see I'm just building up the layers with the Texas for you. And I'll just show you, when I say a bow, this is the sort of thing what you're looking for, rather than little bits of things, because it's just a lot more secure. So we're just going to put this on. And usually, if you've got a bow this size, it's probably about 3 to go around the ring. And don't worry about it. Sometimes it starts looking not circle shape, but you know, it's like anything in your garden, prune or anything. You can manipulate anything to what you want. So you just bring it in. So you can see as I'm doing it, there's some gaps here, but that's okay because I'm going to put some other foliage there. Because you've got quite a lot of wire on initially, you might start being able to shove it in to the wire. You're not aiming to put it in, shove it in between these. You're aiming to put it in under the wire you've already wrapped round. As you get fuller and fuller on the top, what you can do now is try and manipulate which bits you want sticking out and which bits you want tied in. So what you want to do is think, all right, okay, I don't want that. So you just get your wire and you just thread it around. And now it's just tied in a bit here. Now at this stage with your wire, because I quite like the look of this on this side, I don't want to bind it all in unless you're doing a very tight wreath. Now, I'm just going to go under the greenery and manipulating it so you can't see the wire on the top. Because I don't want to tie any more of this in until I get round to this bit here. At this stage, you can start thinking, all right, where am I going to put my bow? Which is going to be the top, which is going to be the bottom? Sometimes it's just obvious and other times it's not. I might start concentrating on this bit. This is my bow going to be here, and then my other foliage is going to go around here. Don't forget, this is only your non-fancy layer to basically cover the wreath. So that's all you want to do. Okay, so I'm thinking, all right, that's not too bad. It's going along, doing it that way. So the next stage is deciding what you want to put on top. Basically, what I'm going to do, so for this one, if I plonk that on, it's a little bit too big. So at this stage, I'm going to get my secateurs, and I'm going to cut the bits off like this. You're still not going to cut the wire off yet. That stays on till you finish the top. And now you can see the wire, and I'm just going to start tucking in under the wire like that. Don't worry if you can see the wire, you can see the end, because if you're going to put some cones on, some lotus pods, some oranges, they will go over and they will hide it. So we're just building up the next layer. So you can see I've still got my wire attached. Now I've got my wire attached because this one here is good because it's a bit loosey-goosey. So I'm just going to wrap that round and tie it on. And I'm thinking, I don't want that bit sticking out like that. So I'm going to weave the wire in between because I don't want to tie these other things down, but I want to tie this bit down. So I'm just going to weave it in and tie it down that way. Right, okay, so I'm building this up. And I might actually be getting to a stage where I can cut my binding wire off. So we've got the wreath. So we've got at that stage now. So now this is the stage where we can start decorating it. We start decorating it with other foliage, and we start decorating it with the oranges or lotus pods, seed heads, whatever basically, you can put whatever you like on it. So I think I quite like that juniper going around. So I'm going to start putting a few little bit more of juniper around. So again, I've got a little bit here. I just cut the tips off at the back. I mean, you can cut bigger bits off, obviously. And then, so once you're starting doing the decoration, design principles are in odd numbers. So if you're thinking about 1s, 3s and 5s, basically. So it just makes it better, flow a little bit better. I'll find a bit of wire to manipulate the underneath. So you can see I've got one, and then I'm going to put another one down at the bottom there. So there. So you can see I've got 3 in sort of a triangle. In the other gaps, I'm looking at this ivy and I quite like the ivy. I'm going to put my ivy on a bed of moss. I'm going to put it on there, and I'm going to do that 3 times. So that's going in between the juniper I've got. So now what you want to do at this stage, if you are doing moss, you can leave it like that and use the picks, which I'm going to show you in a minute, how to secure it. But I don't really want to put any picks on top of my moss, any decoration on top of my moss, apart from the ivy. So I am going to break my own rule and go back to my wire, but I'm only going to do one tie. And when you put the wire into the moss, it sinks into the moss. And I probably wouldn't do this for anything else except moss. And then you can't see the moss anyway, because it sinks into it there. So I put the wire round, I've pulled it tight. Don't be tempted to use the stubbing wire, because you can't manipulate that as much. Just keep to the binding wire. And I'm going to do that for each chunk of moss I've put on. Keep your wire while you're wrapping it, rather than cut your wire and then wrapping it, because if you're anything like me, I always underestimate and I don't have enough wire. I'm going to cut it, find the end and twist. It's a bit long, so I'm going to cut it down and then I'm going to tuck it right in. And you'll do this when we start using the stubbing wire as well. I want to put a little bit of ivy on, but I only want to put the ivy with the seed heads on. So I'm just going to take that off, take it down. And you can see if you do one with two and it just lays either side of the wreath, and you know, and even if you don't put any of the other bits and bobs on, your wreath with just the foliage and the ribbon is absolutely fine. I think it looks great. So again, I'm going to be thinking in threes. Put 3 of things on. There we go. So I've got one there. I'm going to mist my moss. I've got my juniper here, and I'm going to put it here next to my juniper and pop it in. So I've got another bit here, and then I'm going to pop it here. Yeah. Okay, so we've got starting to build up. Okay, and we're doing this. And where I put the ivy in, you saw me putting the ivy in. That's what you do if you want to put holly on. Right, the next thing to do is, you know, you're wondering, right, okay, I've got these orange slices, I've got apple slices, I've got the lotus pods, the berries, if you're using the berries. I've got the oranges and the green oranges. How do I get these things on my wreath, you're all asking? This is where the stubbing wire comes in. So the stubbing wire, so this is 30 centimetres, and then this is about 20, and it's a little, the gauge is a bit thinner. And what we're going to do, we're going to make a pick. So with the lotus pods, they're really soft to put in. So we're just going to pop it in through. Just a little, so a little bit comes out the other side. And then we're going to twist it around. And when it's a pick. And that's what we're going to make for everything. So at this stage, we don't want to see any wire at all. The oranges and the green oranges. This is where it can get a bit tricky sometimes. You just have to sort of manipulate it. But you can get there and it just comes through the other side. You're making a pick, twisting it and making a pick. So decide what you want to put on, or at least think about what you want to put on, and you make your picks. If you want to put some orange slices on, you can put 2 or 3. Usually I probably put 3 because I like odd numbers. You're just going to put them, and don't put them through the centre, just put them through the bottom. Make a pick. And then when you put them on, you fan them out like that and you can't see any wire. The apple slices a little bit more friable, so, but they're still okay. So again, your 3, put them at the end, not in the center, little bit of wire, and make a pick. You can use cinnamon sticks to do this, and the same thing with this. Now with this one, you can, if you want to use them singly, you use this and you make a pick by just popping it through the center, and you do it like that, and then you're just going to wire it around and pop it on. And the key is to not seeing the protruding wire when you do anything like this. If you pull it tight enough at the back, because you've got a nice amount of chunky foliage on there, the foliage just hides the wire. Do it. If you want, I quite like to use some Hessian twine like this, and I take 3, and I just you know, make a little bunch out of them like this. Tie it if you want the ribbon on it, or I just leave it loose. So you've got your little bunch like that. Then you get your stubbing wire and you make it a pick. The berries, if you're using artificial berries, you can either do them in bunches, but another way of doing it is just popping them on. They're the pine, and you can see they've got some binding wire in between. This is how they come. You can get gold ones, silver ones, if you're doing a bit more glitzy one, and then just twist the berries round, and you can see it just nestling in there just a little bit, and you can't see the wire. What we're aiming for is the end of the pick to go through the gap in between the 2 rings. You won't be able to see the gap, so it's basically just feeling your way through. And you pull it through, pull it down, and it just nestles in like that. Now, if you're doing a collection of things together, say you just want to do something at the bottom or the top, rather than do one thing each way, I actually like to put a combination of things together. So if I want to put one of these and an orange, I'll put it through, and again, thinking 3s. Okay, and you're just popping it through like that, and it just nestles in. And with it being on wire, you know, you can manipulate it a little bit round. Put the cinnamon stick there. Okay, so you've got your little collection of picks, 3, and then at the back you've got your 3 wires. I like to bring the wreath off the edge of the table so I can hold it underneath like this. And basically what we're going to do is we're just going to twist the wires together tightly and try and pull them as tightly as you can, so the ornaments at the front lie nice and still, so they're not moving much. You can see now they're not moving much. Okay, and like we did with the other wire, we're going to cut it off, and this is where I will use my wire cutters rather than my secateurs. Cut most of the off, so you've got some stubs like that, and then again we're going to make a U-bend and tuck it in, and it's not scratching against your door. And that's it. And that's how you fix anything on. I want to put another, say I've put some apples here. You might want to put 3 oranges, whatever, the same thing. Put them again. So I've got 3, I've got 5 things there now. And I tie them off. I can't see if I can see it. So because I think, oh, I like my bow at the side, I put it diagonal to the big bunch of stuff from a design point of view, yeah? Or you could put it immediately at the bottom, so the bow becomes part of your combination, or at the top. But sometimes if you do it at the top, it hides, the tails hide the combination. Don't think that your bow just has to go to the top or has to go to the bottom. So first of all, you've got to decide where your bow's going to go, how many loops you want, and how long the tails are going to be. And where do you want them hanging down, or do you want them tied in? So what you've got to remember as well is that as you're making the bow, it's as though you're going, it's basically you're making it as you're seeing it. And you're keeping it in that position the whole time. So your hand is going to be facing you the whole time. So basically you're going to get your tail where you want it to end, and you're going to pinch it, put it in between the collar of your thumb and your forefinger, and that's still facing you. So for you, it'll be like that at the front. So basically it's facing you, and you're going to make your loop, and you're working from side to side, left to right, right to left, whichever hand you're using. So you're not doing all the loops on one side and all the loops on the other. You're just going to loop. So you do a loop, the size of the loop that you want. Okay. This is not wired ribbon, so it's a bit more loosey-goosey, but it's Hessian, so it's quite stiff. You can gauge the width of the loop by just putting your hand like that. So then when you do the other one, you can think, all right, that's the same size. But at the end, by holding it like this and not wiring it off till the very end, you can manipulate your loops. So you're going to go to the right, if you're holding it in your left hand, and you're going to do another loop, and you're going to pinch it down again. So basically you've got that. And if you wanted only a 2-loop ribbon, this is where you'd stop. And again, so for the 3rd loop, it goes on the other side, you pinch it down, you hold it between your thumb and your forefinger and the collar. And then you're doing your 4th one on the other side. And your hand is still facing you. You're looking at it as though you're looking at it on your wreath. That's how you're going to look at it. Okay, so you've got 4 loops like that now. So the next 2 loops, again, you can keep at 4 if you wanted to keep it 4. Well, you know, 6 loops is a nice bow, because then the other 2, you're going to make the 5th loop a little bit shorter. So, you know, when you see a bow and you always see the 2 top ones a little bit shorter, and you're going to put that a little bit on top, and it's a little bit shorter like that. And then you're going to do the same on the other side, like that. Okay, so you should have it like that now, yeah? And don't worry if it's all a bit scrunched up, you can manipulate it once you've wired it off at the end. I'm going to make a flat middle on this, but first of all, we've got to wire it off and then we can release our hand. So you're going to take your stubbing wire, yeah? And these 2 fingers here, you're going to pop the wire in between, and then you're going to bring it round, and it's, if you're using your left hand, it's to the right of your thumb, and you're going to just encase the whole center, squeeze it tight, bring it back in between your 2 fingers, yeah, and at this stage you can release it a little bit and just pinch it, and then we're going to twist only once, and then butterfly these wires out to either side. And then you can release it, and you've got it at this stage. Okay, so I'm going to do a flat middle to this. You can do a loop middle like this, but most people usually like a flat middle. So you've got your ribbon, which is still on the rail at the front. So you're going to take it to the back, pop it round to the front, twist it up to the front. Then when you get to the back again, you're going to twist the ribbon and it goes facing with the other tail. And it's not so important on this Hessian because back and front are the same. But if you were doing something like this, you twist it at the back because you don't want the plain side showing. And once you've twisted it at the back and you've got your tail down there, you've got your butterflies of your wire here. You bring it round and you tie it off by twisting just once. If you twist too much, people think, oh, twist, twist, twist. You end up with a big chunk of stubbing wire, and it doesn't like lay flush against your wreath. So just once is enough, and you can see that's fairly secure. So at that stage, and then when you've got it here, you can manipulate the loops around as you want it. And there you've got your bow, and you cut it off. I like to do one tail longer than the other. And I'm going to do it on a diagonal here. And I'll do it on a diagonal here. And there you've got your bow. And by doing it this way, you've got your bow on a pick. And that's what you put through your wreath, and you secure it at the back of your wreath. So like I said before, everything what you put on your wreath, you make into a pick. It's much easier and it's more secure. So I'm going to put this on here at the bottom. And I'm just going to push the pick through. I've got, by putting these on afterwards, I've already got some loose wires at the back, you can see, of my apples and oranges. So I can twist all these together at the back. I've got them all, so that's my picks, the wire of my picks, that's the wire of my ribbon, and I will twist it all around a couple of times only, cut this off, fold it into a U and tuck it right into the foliage so it's nice and smooth. All right, the next stage is, okay, how am I going to hang it up on the door? The same ribbon, and hang it up with ribbon like that. Or if you want to put the hook on, you get your stubbing wire, and you can use a floral tape. This is what they use to cover the wires, floral tape, and it's a little bit sticky. But you don't have to use this. You can just use the wires on their own. But if you're using this, again, it just makes it a bit softer against your door. And it's sticky, so what you do, you just leave it hanging, and you don't twist the tape, you twist your wire, and it just naturally goes down. And because it's sticky, it just comes down. So it just finishes it off quite nicely rather than having a burr wire at the back. Find out where you want to hang it up. So find where you want to put it. So you're going to put this underneath all your back foliage. It's going to push up like that, up at the back. Yeah. And because I don't want to see any wire at the front, I'm just moving this around the back, and I will tie it off, give it one twist at the back. Okay, like that. Then I will just make a loop, so that's your hook, and then you're just twisting those around the circle that you've made for your hook. And there's your hook, like that. So it's a nice soft hook to hang up and you can't see it. And apart from one last thing, that's it basically. To keep it nice and fresh, use hairspray. Use hairspray. Just spray it with hairspray and it will keep till spring.